Hi guys and gals and kittens, and welcome to the I Need a Magic show. So in this video I'm going to show you the latest features we've just released in Magic Cloud as of today. Now if you log into your Cloudlet, all of these features are actually available at you starting as of from today, and you can actually follow this YouTube video and reproduce what I'm about to do yourself if you're interested. For the record, if all you want is a chatbot, thanks to Arya, we now have like almost 20 videos guiding you through the entirety of setting up an AI chatbot using OpenAI's APIs here in this YouTube video series. And it covers everything, ranging from how to configure your Cloudlet, how to scrape your website, how to massage your training material, and even how to integrate Shopify and things like that, Twilio, to have SMS and WhatsApp support, etc. Anyway, so in this video, I'm going to show you the new features, which is the kick-ass cool things. First of all, the entirety of the dashboard is way sharper. It's way better. We've eliminated hundreds of small annoyances, such as, bold characters, etc. However, more importantly is that HyperID got a significant update. First of all, now I can go to etc, for instance, and I can choose www. I can create a new file. I can name it foo.html, and then I can use OpenAI or ChatGPT to actually create HTML code for me. Now, this has always been available. However, starting as of from this release, I can actually have a conversation with my HTML code. So now it's going to be creating a default HTML code. Now I can say stuff such as add bootstrap from CDN. Right now it's going to inject bootstrap CSS inclusion HTML tag for me automatically. Then I can continue, create a 3-column layout with yellow, green, and blue columns with high contrast texts. Now, when I'm done now, I can save this file, and let me show you another really tiny little thing. See this little eye icon here? Now if I save this guy and I click this eye icon, ta-da, it opens up. So it allows me to actually see what I just created. Now, for the record, this was created by ChatGPT or OpenAI. Now, if I add a top part with an H1 header saying, welcome to my cool bootstrap app. So let's see if it can figure it out. And now let me save my page and change here, and now it's supposed to have a title. So this allows me to actually have a conversation with my HTML code. So basically the AI parts of everything in Magic Cloud is like a billion times stronger in this release than it was previously. This goes through in every single section of the page. And if I am stuck, if there is something in Magic that I do not understand, now I can click the help icon here at the top, and then I can see a small breakdown of what this particular component actually happens to do. And I can also click the read more button, at which point I'm brought on to documentation for Magic Cloud. These are, if you print them in a PDF, it's several hundred pages of texts explaining you every single part of Magic, such that you can actually understand it. And more importantly, I can click a chatbot. We now actually have an integrated chatbot inside of Magic Cloud, which allows you to actually ask it for help. What is Hyper Lambda ? So now it's going to invoke our model on our Cloudlets, and for the time being, we're allowing users to use this for free. We might actually have to plug it in the future and start charging for it, depending upon our API token usage. Here you see it explains HyperLambda using our chatbot model, and here you can click to learn more about HyperLambda, blah, blah, blah. How do I authenticate a user in HyperLambda ? Now it's actually going to suggest code for me too, such as for this particular question, where I'm hoping that it will actually return the slot required to apply authentication in HyperLambda. Now, to authenticate a user in HyperLambda, you typically use Magic's built-in authentication slot, blah, 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 after ticket.verify, and it did so correctly. So it suggested the correct code for me here, allowing me to, and then it explains everything. It explains how to create a JWT token, etc., etc., etc. And then always references pointing to this particular part of our documentation where you can read more about it, etc. So that's feature number 2. Now, let's go to the thing that I am the most jazzed about. Let me close this file and let me de-expand this guy, and let me de-expand this guy, and let me create a new module. So now, but before I create this module, I want to install 2 plugins. Go to Manage, go to Plugins, and then I want to install the OpenAI module. Then I want to install the Stripe payments, and then I want to install the registration module. So I now installed 3 plugins into my Magic Cloud. Now I can go back to HyperID and I can actually consume these plugins. If you see here in the modules folder, I now have 3 new additional folders: OpenAI, registration, and Stripe. I want to create my own module, foo, where I actually consume actions that can be found inside of these plugin modules. So now if I create a new endpoint and I call it getContext.get.hl, hl hype lambda, get is the HTTP verb, inside of my module /foo folder. Then I can apply some description to my endpoint, does some really cool stuff, ta-da, cool stuff. Ta-da. Then I can apply arguments to it. Okay, I want to have an argument, name it query, type string, okay, okay. Then after my arguments collection, I want to do OpenAI, and I want to take some context from, let's say, from a URL. Okay, URL. http://ainiro.io. So now it's retrieving up to 4,000 context tokens by scraping the URL ainiro.io. Then let's return that. Let's return it. Return. Last action. Save. So now I actually have an API that I can actually consume. If I now go to Manage, I open up endpoints in another window, and I find my, let's see what the name of the file was, get context, okay, get context, and I invoke this guy, and actually we don't really need a query argument here, we can just remove it, I guess, and then it will actually retrieve context based upon scraping this particular website. So now I can connect this to my own ChatGPT. If I now go to, is it create? GPTs / and then click the plus sign, create, editor. Now I can actually connect this API to my own custom GPT. If I go here now and I search for Open API and I invoke it and I pass in modules /foo, try it out. And then I copy this URL, I go to my GPT, I go to configure here now, and I add a new action, I import from URL, and then I go back here. Now I actually have an action inside of my GPT, which I can consume. Now I can provide an instruction, use my get context action to retrieve relevant information. Now if I ask who works at ainiro, then the point being now, it will actually invoke my action, will retrieve the content from ainiro.io, then it will actually use ChatGPT to determine who the employees at ainiro.io actually is. Hopefully it's going to be returning Thomas, Arya, and Tage, obviously. And here you can see the key individuals working at Ainiro include Arya, Natalia, Aurora Nygaard, our COO. And then number 2, Thomas Hansen, CTO, Tage Lander, founder and CEO. And these are the core team members involved. So I now have a custom GPT that is actually connected to my cloudlet. Now the really cool part is that if I now go back to my bugger here and I create, let's say another one, plus new file, get context 2 dot get.hl. Now at this one, I want to have some query arguments, blah, 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 description, query, value, string, okay, okay. Now, let me find OpenAI, context from search, search for query, max tokens 4,000, okay. Then return, last action, save. Now, if I go back into this guy and I find modules, foo, and I need to refresh because I created a new endpoint, modules, foo, and I actually invoke this number 2. Now, if I search for Thomas Hansen hyper lambda, what it's actually going to be doing, it's actually going to reach out to DuckDuckGo, apply that as a search term to DuckDuckGo, and return whatever the top 5 pages from DuckDuckGo tells it is the result. In this article, blah, 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 obviously it kicked in for my 2017 article about hyperlambda that was published by Microsoft. So now if I go back to this guy after I re-invoke it again, modules, foo. Let's try it out and just verify that we're getting both endpoints. We are. Copy context, and I go back down into this action, and I re-import it. Now I have 2 actions. Now if I go back to this guy, and then I say, use my get context to action to retrieve relevant information you will be using to answer my question. And now if I ask it, tell me about Thomas Hansen's hyper lambda. What it's actually going to be doing now, it's actually going to be reaching out to our cloudlet. My cloudlet is going to invoke DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is going to return 5 URLs. Magic Cloudlet is going to scrape those URLs and return up to 4,000 context tokens back to ChatGPT, allowing ChatGPT to actually work with live search data through my cloudlet. That's pretty kick-ass if you ask me. Confirm. And as you can see here, it's a unique programming language that challenges traditional classifications of programming languages. This is neither statically compiled nor dynamically interpreted. It's non-programming or anti-programming, differing from conventional languages like C# and JavaScript. Its core is a relational file format, blah, 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 blah. It basically is using the search result returned from DuckDuckGo to answer my question. And we can keep on going into infinite complexity here. And actually, let's do that. Let's create another one, get context 3, or let's actually create something even more staggering. Let's now go to create, and let's go to SQL Studio. But before we do, I want to create a new database. I want to name my database tests. So now I'm creating a new SQLite database. And of course, we can connect to existing databases if you have a connection string here. But I don't. So for the purpose of this YouTube video, I'm just going to be creating a new test database, SQLite type of database. Then I'm going to add, modify that database. I'm going to create a customers table. And then I'm going to create a contacts table. Then I'm going to be creating a foreign referential key from contacts into customers. Then in customer, I'm going to be creating a company name field, type, not type integer, but type text. Then I'm going to be creating for my contacts, I'm going to be creating a name column, type text, and I'm going to create an email column, email type text. So now I have a database, and I can already at this point go into SQL Studio, and I can choose SQL view, and I can actually do insert into, and then I need to choose my correct database, customers, and then custom company name, values, Acme Inc. And I can execute this SQL. I've now inserted a new record. And now I can do select all from, ta-da, I get autocomplete, F5. As you can see now, I've created Acme Inc. as a company inside of my database. Now what I want to do, now I want to go to create, I want to click endpoint generator, I want to choose this particular database I just created, the test database, then I want to generate endpoints. Now I'm generating HTTP Web API endpoints, wrapping this particular database into all 4 CRUD operations. If I now go to HyperIDE and I expand modules, you will see I have a new folder called tests, and here I have 10 Hyperlambda files. Every single one of these files actually encapsulates a CRUD verb towards my database. At this point, I can go to manage, I can go to endpoints, and I can choose, actually, I don't even have to do that either. This is a new feature, which I actually even forgot about. I can just stay in HyperIDE, I can click and mark my test folder such that it's active, and then I can click the HTTP icon here, at which point I'm actually able to copy the URL towards this open API specification. Then I can switch back to ChatGPT and I can remove this action and or change it. So let me just change it, import. And now, unfortunately, I need a token. So I'm going to be generating a token for the admin role, copy. Then I'm going to go down here now and I'm going to apply that token. Where is it? Authentication here. API key. For the record, this is just a dummy cloudlet, and I'm going to change the JWT secret after this YouTube video. There's no point in trying to hack it or anything. So now I have a different API that this is using. Use my action. If I ask you to perform some sort of CRUD operation, then assume I want you to use my test action. Okay, now count how many companies are in my data. Now it's going to ask me for permission to reach out to my cloudlet. Then it's going to reach out to my cloudlet, use my CRUD endpoint, and actually count the number of companies that exists in my database, hopefully. And why didn't that work? Let's try a different question. List all my customers. Let's try this guy instead. If I ask to perform some sort of CRUD operation, then assume. Let's hope I didn't count how many companies are in my data. Let's see if we can get this to work. Hopefully I didn't spend all my ChatGPT tokens. Confirm. And something unfortunately is wrong. Yeah, demo troll. Let's try to save this guy as private, only me. And let's try to just refresh and see what happens. Configure, if I ask you to perform some CRUD operation, list all my companies. My customers is the name of the table, right? And there we go. Now it actually reached out to my cloudlet. It selected all customers from my customers database table and actually returns that to me such that I can use that API. Insert a new customer named Fubar Inc. Now what it's going to be doing, it's going to actually create a new customer for me. whose name is Foobar Inc. Let's confirm it. And then I can continue. Associate a new contact with Foobar named John Doe with email john@doe.com. Now, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you've probably seen parts of this before. However, the point being that as of today, this is actually available inside of your Cloudlet, and you can actually start consuming it yourself as you are creating your own GPTs. Now you see it inserted a new contact. Okay, so now let's do list all contacts. And when this returns, hopefully, it's going to be finding John Doe. And as you can see, John Doe belongs to customer Foobar Inc., customer ID, and here's his email. Now, you can keep on going and creating more and more complex GPTs this way, any ways you see fit. And we have some really amazing GPTs that we've created ourselves. Some GPTs we're using in marketing for instance, scraping leads websites, writing a detailed, personalized email to that user, sending an email to that user, etc., etc. And in fact, let's do send email.post.hl here now. If I now sends an email, arguments, name, arguments, email, or string. Okay, then I filter on email. Now it's going to, and then it's going to be using the, let's do, you know what, let's add some more. Let's add subject string, and then let's add body string. Okay, and then let's invoke our send email slot. And now you can see it's using subject, it's using body. Let's turn off HTML, okay. And then let's save this guy. Now we go up here. We find our endpoints, refresh, open API, modules, test. Was it that folder we created it in? Yes, test. Copy this guy, we go down to our action here, we re-import it from the URL, we go back here now we have a send email action. Now, I don't remember if I've configured my SMTP server here or not, so I'm not entirely sure if this is actually going to work. If I ask you to send an email, then use my send email action. Okay, save. GPT name cannot be blah. Okay, empty. Hooray! Did it create two of these guys? Let's see again. Public, only me. There we go. Now let's try to preview it. Send an email to thomas@gaiasol.com named Thomas Hansen with subject of Foobar and body of hello from Hyper Lambda and AI app. With a little bit of luck, this is going to work. I can't remember if I configured the SMTP server on this particular cloudlet, so it might actually not work. But the point being, if I now actually had a valid SMTP server now, it will actually send an email from my AI app. So that is basically the point. The point is you want to create your own custom GPTs, right? Now you want to extend these custom GPTs to be able to do a lot more than whatever OpenAI allows you to do. You will need an API. Magic allows you to create an API in seconds, and as you can see, everything now works. If I check my email inbox now, I will see an email with the subject of Foobar and the body of hello from Hyper Lambda AI app. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.